Something has been quietly building in your life for longer than you might admit, Sagittarius. Maybe it is a conversation you keep avoiding or a goal that suddenly feels heavier than it should. Today, the sky offers an explanation you did not expect. A wide-reaching influence tied to distant places, foreign connections, or long-term life direction is intersecting with a much smaller, faster lunar shift happening right now. One is patient and slow. The other is sharp and immediate. When they meet, as they do today, ordinary frustration can suddenly reveal a much bigger pattern. Stay with this, because the moment where these two forces cross is where today's real story begins. The bigger picture. For years now, a slow-moving current has been working through what astrologers call your foreign affairs sector, the part of the chart tied to travel, foreign people, higher learning, and long-distance life direction. From an evolutionary perspective, this is one of those areas where change does not announce itself loudly. It accumulates. And every so often, a rare alignment between the outer planets creates what feels like a launch point, a day when an entire chapter seems to open at once. That kind of clustering is active around you right now, which is why certain decisions about relocation, foreign connections, or long-range plans may feel unusually loaded today, as if the year ahead, even into 2027, is already asking to be considered. Layered on top of that longer arc is something far more immediate. In Western tropical astrology, the moon has moved into Virgo and is currently transiting your career and visibility sector, the house connected to reputation, responsibility, and how the world sees your effort. This lunar placement is forming a quincunx, an uneasy 90-degree adjacent angle, to Saturn sitting in your house of creativity and play. Quincunx does not crash into you. It creates friction that is easy to misread. You may feel that ambition and enjoyment are suddenly competing, that there is not room for both today. Meanwhile, in Vedic or sidereal astrology, which calculates the zodiac differently and often produces a different moon sign entirely, today's lunar position falls in Leo. That placement is associated with a wave of disappointment or frustration touching several areas of your plans at once, the kind of day where effort does not translate cleanly into progress. Vedic tradition does not read this as failure. It reads it as temporary friction, the kind that resolves once the moon moves forward. Here is where the first real synthesis happens. The Western lens sees career pressure clashing with creative freedom through a specific geometric tension. The Vedic lens, working from a different zodiac entirely, independently describes a day of blocked momentum and mild frustration. Two different systems, two different moon signs, and yet both are pointing to the same underlying sensation. Today asks more patience than usual before results show up. Love. You may have noticed a strange contradiction in how connection feels today. On one hand, there is a pull toward depth, toward the kind of conversation that finally says the real thing. On the other, work and visibility keep crowding the space where romance usually breathes. That tension is not a coincidence. The same lunar-Saturn friction shaping your career sector is quietly reaching into your relationship life as well. When responsibility and public obligation take up more room, spontaneous affection often gets pushed to the edges. If you are partnered, this can look like good intentions with poor timing, wanting to connect but constantly deferring it for one more task. If you are single, it might feel like attraction is present, but your bandwidth for pursuing it is not. Here is the open question worth holding on to. Does this mean the connection itself is fading, or does it simply mean the conditions around it have gotten crowded? The answer favors the second option. Saturn in this position does not remove love. It removes convenience. It asks you to build a container for affection, rather than waiting for a perfect, spacious evening that may never arrive. Serious or overdue conversation with a partner may also surface today. And while that can feel intimidating, it tends to bring clarity rather than conflict, when approached honestly. For those still searching, your presence carries an unusually magnetic, positive quality right now, one that tends to draw sincere attention even when your schedule feels tight. The practical move is not waiting for the ideal moment. It is choosing a shorter window on purpose and protecting it. Career. That same crowding you feel in love is, unsurprisingly, coming directly from your professional sector. The moon's placement in your visibility house means deadlines, expectations, and how others perceive your output are especially prominent today. You may feel pressure to move fast, to prove momentum, to close something out before you are fully ready. Resist that urge. The Saturn angle involved here is not punishing ambition, it is asking for precision instead of speed. Rushing a task right now increases the odds you will have to circle back and repair something later, costing more time than it saves. Deliberate, careful steps outperform dramatic leaps today. If a creative idea keeps distracting you from a duty-bound task, do not discard it. Give it a scheduled slot instead of letting it compete silently for attention in the background. There is also a wider current running beneath this. That longer-term influence touching foreign connections and long-range direction may intersect with career today in a subtler way, perhaps through an opportunity involving someone from outside your usual circle, a different market, or a long-distance possibility. It may not resolve today, but it is worth noting when it appears. Money. Financial caution is the practical extension of everything building so far. When ambition feels urgent, spending habits can quietly loosen to match that urgency. A reward purchase, an impulsive upgrade, a way of proving progress to yourself. Today favors the opposite instinct. Review any financial opportunity carefully before committing, especially if it arrived attached to excitement rather than evidence. This is not a day for financial leaps. It is a day for quiet audits. What is being spent on convenience? What is being spent on genuine value? And where a small adjustment now prevents a bigger correction later. Cutting one unnecessary expense, much like cutting one unnecessary task from your schedule, creates room for the things that actually matter to you. Health. Here is the detail most people miss today, and it may reframe everything you have felt so far. What looks like frustration, tight scheduling, or a stalled plan is not actually a sign that something is wrong with your effort. It is a sign that your usual pace has outrun the amount of care each task actually needs. Slowing down is not losing ground. It is the only way to avoid losing more ground later. That single shift in perspective changes how you should treat your body and mind today as well. Frustration that is not expressed tends to settle physically in tension across the shoulders, restlessness, or a short fuse. Rather than pushing through it, some gentle movement or a walk during the day may help release what is building internally. Certain hours often feel more productive and clear-headed than others, so if you can, schedule your most demanding task for later in the evening rather than forcing it earlier when energy feels scattered. On the subject of remedies, some Vedic practitioners may recommend Saturn-related practices for days like this, such as specific colors, mantras, or grounding rituals for individuals whose personal charts support them. This is not universal advice, and gemstone prescriptions in particular require a full birth chart analysis rather than a blanket recommendation for an entire sign. A simple, safe option available to everyone today is wearing a warm, golden yellow tone, which in Vedic tradition is associated with confidence and steadier emotional footing. Home and family. The friction between ambition and rest does not stay contained to work. It often shows up at home too, in shorter patience with family, or in conversations that get postponed because energy is being spent elsewhere. If you have felt distracted around people who deserve your full attention today, that is not a character flaw. It is the same crowded schedule pattern playing out in a different room of your life. Opening up to someone close to you, a friend rather than a partner, may bring unexpected relief today. Sometimes the thing weighing on your mind does not need a solution. It just needs to be spoken out loud to someone who will actually listen. That release alone tends to soften the tension building elsewhere, travel and spirit. That long-range influence mentioned earlier, the one tied to foreign connections and distant direction, deserves one more look here. Picture it like a bridge being built slowly across the years, plank by plank, mostly invisible, until suddenly a whole section becomes visible at once. That is what today's rare alignment resembles. It does not demand a decision immediately, but it does deserve your attention if something involving travel, foreign people, or a long-term relocation idea surfaces in the coming days. Spiritually, this is a strong day for reflection rather than action, journaling about where your ambition has been outpacing your actual capacity, or simply sitting with the discomfort of slowing down instead of resisting it. Growth right now looks less like a leap and more like patience practiced on purpose. Lucky signs. Today's supportive color leans toward golden yellow, offering a subtle boost to confidence and warmth. Your strongest window for important tasks or conversations tends to fall in the early evening hours. Compatible energy today favors people who value steady honesty over urgency, and your luckiest environment is one that allows a slower, more deliberate pace rather than constant multitasking. Today's guidance. Everything today circles back to the same quiet truth. What felt like frustration this morning, whether in love, work, or your own plans, was not a sign of failure. It was friction created by moving faster than the moment actually required. The slower current shaping your long-term direction and the sharper lunar tension shaping your day are both saying the same thing from different angles. Patience is not a delay right now, it is the strategy. Choose one task to do carefully instead of quickly today. Choose 1 hour, however small, to protect for someone you care about. And when frustration rises, remember it is temporary, tied to a lunar mood that will shift. The bridge being built across your longer story is not finished yet, but every deliberate step you take today is one more plank laid down toward it.